Hey everyone, Token Dave over here, the dorky token black guy that's just trying to get by. You know, my favorite genre of movies are action movies. And within action movies, my favorite subgenre are martial arts action movies. As a kid, the martial arts craze was still in effect and still in your face with movies popping up all over the place. And, beat 'em up games were still the craze, and fighting games were just popularized and were taking the world by storm. But as an African American kid in New York City, I really didn't have a martial arts action hero to point to for a source of inspiration to identify with. While I had Last Dragon, and when I was a little kid, like when I was like 5 years old, that movie was almost 10 years old at the time. Well, not almost 10 years old. It was more like 6 or 7 years old at the time. But Taimak, the lead actor in that movie, he was never seen in another movie again. And people would say, oh, Last Dragon guy, he was whack and everything. One movie and everything, and didn't show up. He had to have been whack. All right. So I had Jim Kelly. But, even though I knew he was a good martial artist, you could see it, his movies weren't really that good. And people would say, oh, Jim Kelly, that wannabe Bruce Lee, that oosh, 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 Jai Turkey doing kung fu and everything. All right. And then there's Ron Van Cleef, my favorite martial artist at that time, and one of the most respected martial artists in the martial arts community. But all of his movies were in Hong Kong, and unless you were one of the Channel 5 crowd, or you were a martial artist, or you immerse yourself in the world, you didn't know who he was. Heck, people were telling me, Ron Van Cleef, who the heck is he? What, a wannabe Jean-Claude Van Damme and everything? So, I had no one to point to. That wasn't until 1992, when Passenger 57 came out, So, Passenger 57 is about John Cutter, an ex-cop who was traumatized by the murder of his wife. And despite his PTSD, he is convinced by a longtime friend to take the job as the vice president of a counterterrorism unit for a major airline. So he boards on a plane to start his first day at work, and on that plane, the FBI brings in apprehended terrorist Charles Payne. Payne, being one step ahead of the FBI, basically murders his escort and takes control of the plane. However, Payne, being calculated and a planner, did not anticipate Cutter being on the plane. And so, with the terrorists on the plane and Cutter causing interference, Payne is realizing that with Cutter on the job, trying to basically, take down the terrorists, rescue the passengers, and bring him in, Payne realizes that with Cutter around, he should always bet on black. And damn right he should have bet on black and everything, because Wesley Snipes kicking ass, y'all. So, of course, as you can see, I love this movie. And, at the time, I was not supposed to watch R-rated movies. But I was well aware of who Wesley Snipes was. I had teenagers or younger adults sneaking movies for me, especially my aunt and my uncle at the time. And so I knew Wesley Snipes from Major League. I already knew him from Jungle Fever. And I already knew him, mainly as Nino Brown, the above-average drug dealer that I saw in my area. So seeing that Wesley Snipes, seeing Nino Brown mainly be the good guy, and not only be a good guy, but be a martial artist, blew my mind, but at the same time was one of the greatest things I ever saw. He was cocky. He had swag and everything. He had that, yeah, I can be cool, but I'm no joke and everything. And you're going to give me respect one way or the other and everything, And, so I love Wesley Snipes as Cutter in this movie. Another person that I actually loved Bruce Payne as, as Charles Rane in this movie. You know, like, you know, Bruce Payne gets a really bad rap. You know, now granted, that's because some of the movies that people remember him from, Highlander Endgame and Dungeons and Dragons, you know, those were bad movies, and he didn't really get a chance to really shine in those movies, which is a shame because he actually plays the perfect antithesis of Wesley Snipes, of John Cutter. You know, you had Cutter being, you know, while commanding and everything, he was a little bit more of a hothead and everything, and, you know, went with how things were and everything. Like, he was weary in the moment. Where you had, like, you know, Rain was, like, you know, calculative, calm, and everything. You know, think Bond villain and Hannibal Lecter and everything. And Payne brought it and everything. So, you know, I hope one day that he gets a I hope one day he gets a better role and everything. And he's getting work. All right. So, we got a great protagonist and antagonist. And what about the action? The action's pretty awesome. You know, the martial arts that Wesley Snipes displays is actually incredible and everything. You know, now granted, it was not as dazzling as, like, you know, Steve Seagal's hand speed at the time, nor was it as flashy as, like, you know, those high kicks that Van Damme was known for. But Wesley Snipes had this, like, you know, he had this demeanor of basically, you know, someone that, like, if you guys ever played the video game Final Fight and everything, he had that demeanor of someone that I could see as, like, Cody Travers in a Final Fight game, or Hawk in Streets of Rage. Someone that you could see on the street and everything that would do these martial arts movements, but not overtly flashy. You know, more like a martial arts brawler, like my favorite video game protagonist, Terry Bogard, you know. And while also one thing that I also liked was the way the gun scenes were, the fight scenes with the guns, you know. Like, it wasn't as prevalent as the martial arts usage, but they were done sparingly and they were done well. Another thing that I actually liked was, like, you know, one thing that this movie was kind of self-aware, and with, like, not many people having African-American lead action hero at the time and everything, you had to have some implication of racism. But what they did it subtly and everything. Like, for example, Wesley Snipes' character, John Cutter, he was not really comfortable on a plane, so he got sent next to a nice old lady who confused him for Arsenio Hall and everything. Blatantly racist, but more innocent, more not really racist, more like prejudice or ignorance and everything, but very innocent and well-meaning. Also, you had, like, you know, Charles Payne try to, when Snipes and Payne were actually in a room together, you know, the character Rain tried to basically, you know, coax him into saying, hey, you know, why are you helping them? You know, you see how they see you. You see what they did to you when you tried to, like, do the right thing and everything. And, of course, he's talking about when scene where Snipes escapes and cops arrested him and everything, how they were easy to believe that, well, he had to have been one of the bad guys because obvious reasons. So, in addition, you know, you also had a decent musical score that went along with this movie. You know, the movie was not trying to be something overtly intelligent, but it was trying to deliver on action, it tried to deliver on atmosphere, and it tried to deliver on excitement, which is what it does. You know, as for being, like, you know, a black kid wanting to look up for an African American to look up to, I found it in Wesley Snipes. He was awesome in the movie, and greatly, like, you know, he became my action hero, you know, as a preteen and as a teenager. So, great action, good music, decent editing, you know, and highly entertaining. While I personally say that Passengers 57 kicks ass, I really have to give it a slamming review for my general audience. All right? Agree? Disagree? Better not disagree, because you better bet on black. You know, but neither here nor there. Drop me a comment, give me a like, spread this video out. But until then, this has been Token Dave, the key token black guy just trying to get by. I'll catch you guys later.